I find that oftentimes our personality traits could be an idol or a hindrance in fulfilling what it is that God has called us to. Hey, it's Dr. Mrs. Mom, and I'm so glad that you are joining me here today for this video. I wanted to get into something that I don't think I've actually addressed here on this channel, which is one of my personality types, which is being an introvert. And people obviously see me outside and they're like, girl, you're da 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 da. And I'm just like, if only you knew the amount of sleep I'm going to need to recover after this interaction, you will be shocked. Anyways, I came here to make this video for all my introverted girlies and guys, an introvert's guide to nurturing Christian community. Yes, I said it, it's necessary, so let's dive in. All right, listen, let's start from here, okay? I think it was in the 1920s where this psychologist, is it Carl Jung? I'll put his name if it's right or wrong, whatever. In the 1920s, who came up with this idea of extroversion and introversion, right? The different personality types that groups people based off of one, how you recoup energy, but also how you tend to be within community, essentially. So introversion, extroversion. Now, obviously, there are 1 million personality tests out there. I'm not saying that this is the end all be all, but I think this is a pretty basic wide net that helps split us into different categories. And I wanted to speak to my introverts because I find that oftentimes our personality traits could be an idol or a hindrance in fulfilling what it is that God has called us to. So this is why I'm making this video as a guide for any of my Christian introverts who really crave community but don't necessarily know how to go about doing that without expending all the energy that's on the inside of you or without feeling like you need to perform. So maybe let's start from here. We've established the fact, different videos on this channel, that we are built to be in community. God said for Adam, it is not good for man to be alone, and so he created a woman, Eve. And yes, while that was in a relational marriage, if you will, context, it was very, very, very applicable to our everyday life. We're not built to be in isolation, which is why COVID was a lot for a lot of people. But I know that my introverts, low key, high key, kind of enjoyed COVID, but we cannot act like there hasn't been an impact on the way that we were interacting with people since COVID. And so I kind of want to help fellow introverts to flourish, to excel, to thrive, and most importantly, to engage with community, because Christ has designed us to do just that. The same Christ who designed you as an introvert. So let's get into this. Sometimes I think introverts believe that to be in community, it requires performance and extroverted pressures, right? This overwhelm that comes with thinking that we have to be at every event, we have to volunteer at every single thing to show or act like we care or we're involved. Here's the reality. If you're an introvert, you more than likely prefer to have deeper relationships than wider relationships, right? So what I mean is you would rather maybe make 1 or 2 friends where the relationship is literally going deep than having like 50 friends where it stays shallow, okay? When I hear that, the first thing that comes to my mind is you are primed to lead in discipleship. Yeah, we're back to this word again. As an introvert, because you crave that deeper relationship, because you crave that one-on-one interaction, you are primed to lead in discipleship. So how do you nurture community, Christian community as an introvert? You take up the mandate to go out and make disciples of all nations, but it might start with one person in that whole nation. But you are leading the charge in creating the opportunity to interact, to grow, to nurture the next generation, your peers. It doesn't matter, but you are primed to lead in discipleship endeavors. Another thing is participating or volunteering or signing up to be in team. Now, it does not necessarily have to be the most front facing thing. Or you could be like me, who I am an introvert, but God has called me to do, part of what God has called me to do involves me literally being on stage in front of people. That does not always have to be you. But if that is you, here's a thing I would like to say about that. If you're an introvert and God has called you to a more public facing space, here's the first thing. Remember that God created you as an introvert, but that same God put skills or talents on the inside of you that he wants you to use. Therefore, that means you require his help to be able to optimally function. So you cannot for the life of you abandon intimacy and relationship with God, because the God who created you as an introvert is the same God who put those skills and talents on the inside of you that you need to use. So do not on any account abandon your place of intimacy with the Lord. The second thing is you have to realize that what it is that you are doing, what it is that you are bringing to a congregational space or in the public space in general serves to bring God glory. So do not focus on the thing that you're doing as much as you are focusing on the end result, which is to give God glory. So for example, I'm a worship leader, and if I focus on the fact that I'm on stage right now, the lights are on, the people are looking at me, then I'm going to get stuck. Versus as a worship leader, if I focus on one, the author and the finisher of our faith, God, and the goal, I want people to be able to experience God. I want people to be able to, in this moment, give him the glory. Then it changes your attention, your focus, and as a result, your actions. So whereas I might be more conscious of myself if I was just only aware of the fact that I'm on the stage right now and people are looking at me, so I get more insular. What then happens if I change my gaze to I want people to give God the glory, I want people to experience God, is as I'm leading, I'm engaging with the Holy Spirit. What do you want to say? What do you want to do? And before you know it, you're not even thinking about the fact that you're actually on a stage. What you're thinking about is, how do I give you glory? And how do I encourage other people to give you glory? However, if you're an introvert who isn't called to publicly face individuals, then find areas in your church where you can actually serve that don't have to be public facing. It could be within an admin team. It could be with maybe projection. It's, again, you're in a team, which means you're with other people. So the number kind of comes down versus like if you were a greeter or you were on hospitality where you have to engage with people like that, right? The number is reduced if you're doing certain things. So find areas in your church where you can serve that requires you to be on a team and requires you to interact with people, but just not that many people. Like I said, projection is a fantastic way of doing that. The prayer team, that's another way of doing that. And you might be like, I have to pray in public. But guess what, guys? The God who created you as an introvert has called for you to pray to him. I'm just going to leave that there. Another thing with introverts as they navigate, or as we navigate Christian community, is finding a rhythm. Okay, extroverts can just like off the cuff at any moment spontaneously, but an introvert, you need to create rhythms. Now, these rhythms are not to tie you in a box, keep you, bound. They're supposed to serve as guides to kind of help you be aware of, at what point does my social battery run out? And so what should I be doing when I'm close to my battery running out? What should I not be doing when my battery is run out? What I have found is there are people who are in leadership positions who are actually introverts, who are yet to find a rhythm. And so when they become leaders and their social battery is run out, they come across as mean, they come across as not hospitable, not approachable. But it's not because you're those things. It's just the fact that your social battery has run out and you don't know your rhythm enough to know that maybe you need to disconnect or maybe you need to disengage. So find your rhythm. And you find your rhythm by being aware of yourself, having a knowledge of yourself. What are the things that you need to do when your social battery is high? Maybe you rest all night, get a good sleep in, so that Sunday morning, you're actually able to be engaging and interactive with people. But then by the end of service, your social battery started to wane. So you find like one or two people at the end of service, have a good chit chat with, and then you get in your car and then you go home. Because then nobody wants to be around an introvert whose social battery is dead. I promise you, I've been in that situation a few times and nobody wants to interact with you. Okay, so let's not do that. So essentially, know when you need to reach out and know when you need to rest. Find the balance between those two things, and you will definitely be successful at navigating Christian relationships. So it might look like you're not going to the next event because your social battery is dead after work. And I'm saying this in a practical sense, but there's always this caveat that the God who created you to be an introvert is the God who has called you to be in community with other people. So maybe this should have even been the first point. Remember that his strength is made perfect in your weakness. And so because there is now this weakness, and I'm not saying introversion is a weakness, please don't think that. What I'm saying is when your social battery is flat, you cannot engage. Ask the Lord to help empower you in that situation. Ask him, does it look like you need to leave that situation, or is he giving you supernatural strength to be able to continue on in that connection, or whatever the case may be? Hope that makes sense. All right, cool. So I just want to say this really quickly. God is not calling you to change who you are. He's not calling you to be an extrovert before he can use you, before you can be faithful, before you can make disciples. He's not calling you to change who you are. He's calling you to fix your eyes on him as you honor the temple that he created, the introvert that you are. So do not think that you have to change in order to exist, in order to function. Do not think that you have to perform or walk in religiosity simply because you're an introvert. Can I set you free today? The God who created you knew that you were an introvert. And so he is not condemning. He is not judging you. He's just calling you to be wise in making certain moves that will help you as you navigate church community or community in general. It is not good for man to be alone. It is not good for you to be alone. So get in community, even though it might be one dose at a time. Thanks for watching this video. If it's been helpful to you, let me know in the comments. I would love to know, how are my introverts navigating creating community? I'd love to hear from you. Bye for now.